I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to share this story. Not because I'm ashamed, well, maybe a little, but because no one wants to admit that the person they trusted most turned out to be a complete stranger. I'm Alex, 34, and for most of my adult life, I believed I had everything figured out. A stable job in finance, a house we dreamed of, a wife I loved. Or so I thought. Lisa was my high school sweetheart. We met when I was 17, and she was the brightest light in every room. She had this way of making me feel like the luckiest guy alive. We built our relationship slowly, the kind of steady love story people say is rare. I proposed when we were 28. We had a small wedding, surrounded by close friends and family. I was sure she was the one I'd grow old with. Our first few years of marriage felt like a dream. We bought a house on the outskirts of the city, our forever home. I worked long hours to save up, and Lisa said it was the start of our new chapter. We planned vacations, joked about kids, and made endless promises about our future. But slowly, the cracks started showing. Lisa became distant. Late nights at work, vague explanations, a phone she guarded like a secret. I tried to ignore it, chalk it up to stress or tiredness. I wanted to trust her, I needed to trust her. Then came my 34th birthday. I had planned a simple evening, just Lisa and me, no fancy parties or big celebrations. After months of working overtime, I looked forward to finally relaxing. I brought home her favorite flowers and a box of chocolates, thinking maybe we'd laugh, maybe dance a little in the living room like we used to. But when I walked in, the air felt wrong. The house was too quiet. Lisa wasn't waiting for me, and on the kitchen counter, her phone was blinking with a new message. It was from a guy named Mark. At first, I didn't pay much attention, but then I saw the screen a series of cold, business-like messages about transferring funds, finalizing the deal, and making sure the account is clean. My heart dropped. I checked our joint bank account on my phone. Thousands of dollars were missing. More than I could afford to lose, money we had saved together for our future. I confronted her in the living room, voice shaking. Lisa, what's going on? What is this money? Her expression wasn't what I expected. No tears, no apologies, just a calculated coldness I'd never seen before. She told me everything, how she'd planned this for months, how she never loved me the way I loved her, how she was tired of living a lie and was taking what she could before walking away. That night, my birthday, became the worst day of my life. The day I learned the woman I married was a stranger. The day I lost not just money, but my faith in love, trust, and everything I believed in. She left with the money, and left me alone in the house we built. I'm still trying to make sense of it all. How do you move on when the foundation you thought was solid crumbles beneath you? How do you trust again when the one person you counted on turns into your biggest betrayal? I don't have the answers yet, but maybe by sharing this, I can start to heal. Before that night, I would have told you our marriage was solid. It bragged about how Lisa and I were the couple everyone envied, how we managed to stay close despite busy schedules, how we supported each other through tough times. But the truth is, I was blind. I ignored the warning signs, the small moments that hinted something was wrong. Looking back, there were moments I should have noticed, like when she started leaving her phone face down, when she suddenly got protective of her emails and social media accounts, or the way she'd work late and come home smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. I told myself it was paranoia. After all, we'd built this life together, hadn't we? The house we bought was supposed to be the symbol of that life. Every corner held memories, lazy Sunday mornings with coffee, the kitchen where we cooked together, the backyard where we planted a tree on our first anniversary. I poured everything I had into making it a home. But now, it feels like a mausoleum, a place haunted by betrayal. That birthday evening, I couldn't stop replaying every interaction we'd had in the last months. Her soft smiles, the gentle touches, were they all lies? How long had she been planning this? The messages I saw weren't just casual conversations. They were calculated, cold, almost clinical. She and Mark weren't just talking. They were closing a deal that involved my life savings. She told me the money was her freedom, that she had dreams I didn't support, that she wanted to start over without the weight of our past. She called it taking control, but to me, it was theft. Emotional, financial, and spiritual theft. When she packed her bags and walked out that night, I felt numb. I wanted to scream, to beg her to stay, to understand what had done wrong, but I couldn't. I just stood there, watching the door close behind her, the sound echoing like the death of everything I believed in. In the days since, I've been a ghost in my own home. Friends ask how I'm doing, but I don't have answers. I can't look at our photos without choking back tears. I've gone over every conversation, every smile, every promise, trying to find where it all went wrong. I'm angry. At her, at myself, at the universe. But beneath that anger is a deep sadness, the sadness of losing not just a wife, but the future we planned together. The hardest part, knowing that, in the end, I was just a stepping stone in her plan. That the woman I loved used me to get what she wanted. It's a pain that doesn't go away. It lingers in the silence of the house, in the empty spaces where her laughter used to be. I don't know what comes next. Maybe I'll rebuild. Maybe I'll learn to trust again. But for now, I'm left with the pieces of a life that was shattered on what was supposed to be my happiest day. If you're reading this and have ever felt this kind of betrayal, know you're not alone. Sometimes the people we love the most can hurt us in ways we never imagined. And sometimes, healing means accepting that the life we thought we had was never real. In the quiet moments after Lisa left, my mind kept drifting back to the early days of our relationship. I remember our first real date, a rainy afternoon at that tiny cafe downtown. She laughed when I spilled my coffee, and I thought to myself, this is the woman I want to spend my life with. Her smile was so genuine, so full of warmth that I felt like nothing bad could ever happen as long as she was by my side. We weren't perfect. We had our fights, sure, who doesn't? But even in those fights, there was an unspoken promise that we'd work through anything. I remember once we argued over something silly, which movie to watch, and instead of storming off, she stayed, sat next to me on the couch, and whispered, "We'll figure it out, together." Those moments made me believe in forever. Now, those memories feel like cruel reminders, like they belong to someone else's life, not mine. After she left, the financial chaos hit hard. The money she took wasn't just a nest egg, it was practically everything I had. I had to call the bank, freeze accounts, change passwords, but it was too late. She had already moved funds out, moved on with her plan. I hired a lawyer, trying to understand what legal grounds I had to fight for the money, but Lisa had been careful. She had dotted every I and crossed every T. It wasn't just a crime of passion, it was a meticulously planned heist. I felt foolish. How could I have been so blind, not just to the cheating, but to the fact that the person I trusted could be so cold and calculated? Friends told me to be strong, to not let her win. But it wasn't about winning. It was about trust. About the years I gave to someone who never valued me as I valued her. There were days I didn't want to get out of bed. Nights filled with restless thoughts and a heavy emptiness. I kept asking myself, was I not enough? Was I too boring? Too predictable? Too normal? One night, I found myself scrolling through old messages on her phone, something I never thought I'd do. There were texts from Mark, and from others. The timeline stretched back months, even years in some cases. It wasn't just a brief fling. It was a double life. But beneath the shock, a strange clarity emerged. Maybe the Lisa I loved had never truly existed. Maybe she was a facade, crafted to keep me close until she got what she wanted. In this new reality, I had two choices: drown in bitterness or find a way to rebuild. So I started small. I cleaned the house, cleared out the things that reminded me of her. I reached out to old friends, started running again, something I hadn't done in years. Every step, every breath, felt like a tiny victory over the pain. Yet, the scars remain. Some nights, when the house is silent, I hear the echo of her footsteps, her laughter, the warmth that's now gone. I'm sharing this because maybe someone out there needs to know that betrayal doesn't define you. That even when your world falls apart, you can find pieces to rebuild. It's not easy. It's painful and lonely, but it's possible. If you're reading this and your heart is breaking, hold on. There's light beyond the darkness, even if you can't see it yet. Months have passed since that terrible birthday. The pain hasn't disappeared, but it's softened, like a wound that still aches but no longer bleeds. I've learned to live with the silence Lisa left behind. I don't pretend to be okay, but I'm learning to be strong. I started seeing a therapist, talking about the betrayal, the loss, the anger. It's been harder than I expected, but necessary. I realized I wasn't just grieving a marriage. I was grieving the future I thought we had. Financially, it's been a battle. I'm still fighting for what's mine, but I'm also building a new foundation. One that's mine alone. No more illusions, no more half-truths. Just me, my goals, and a clearer understanding of what I deserve. It started dating again, cautiously. It's strange and scary, but also hopeful. I remind myself that not everyone will betray me, that love isn't a trap, and that I still deserve to be happy. Most importantly, I've forgiven myself. For the naivety, for the trust I gave too freely, for the times I ignored red flags. Because blaming myself only kept me stuck. Forgiveness is the first step toward freedom. Lisa's chapter in my life is closed, but my story isn't. I'm still here, still fighting, still hoping. If there's one thing I want you to take from this, no matter how deep the betrayal, how dark the night, you can survive. You can heal. And someday, you'll find peace again. This is my story. Maybe it'll help someone else who's lost in the shadows. Maybe it'll remind you that even when everything falls apart, the future is still waiting to be built.